Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third and wonderful conversation Zoom chat with Yvonne Heath and Eva Olsson. We've had the wonderful Jordy Heath, who happens to be my partner in life and in business and everything, but he is away right now and doing great things for the province of Ontario. So Eva and I decided, we can, as much as we love Jordy, we both do, don't we, Eva?
Very much so.
Very much so. And so, but we just wanted to have our third conversation. I know, of course, whoever Eva shared her the conversations with in her circle, they want to hear more from you and about you. And I just happen to be privileged to share.
Over 900 have viewed the first two. Over 900, yes.
I love it. And I could pretend that they want to hear from me, Eva, but I know it's you.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that.
I am so honored and privileged to be able to do this with you for many reasons. So I'll quickly introduce myself and you, and then we'll continue this conversation. So I was a nurse for 27 years, realized we're a society that does not know what to do with grief. We are grief phobic, we are death phobic. Grief is something that shows up throughout life in whatever makes our heart ache, right? Divorce, diagnosis, job loss, mental health issues, whatever makes our heart ache, and of course, end of life. So I took a leap of faith in 2015, wrote a book called Love Your Life to Death, then continued on to become a speaker, and I did a TED Talk, started the I Just Showed Up movement, and it's been an extraordinary experience, and one of the greatest gifts in my new career, in my new path, are meeting people that are taking their stories of grief, challenge, crisis in their lives and creating purpose and something positive from that. And that is the reason that Eva Olsson and I connected. And I am just so fortunate. Not only that have we met, I've had you on my radio show, TV show, blogs, but I live close to you. So we have become, your friendship, our friendship means the world to me. We've spent wonderful time together. You've spent time with my family. It's been an extraordinary journey, and connecting with you, you give hope to so many people in this world, and your story could take an hour of an introduction, but from a challenging childhood, living in a very fundamentalist religious home, surviving the horrors of the Holocaust, hatred, intolerance, everything that you went through there, and your life continued on with other challenges, and you were silent for 50 years, and then chose to be a voice for tolerance, acceptance, and how the choices we make create the life we're going to have. And you've spoken to and touched so many people's lives. You've spoken to, millions of people. The ripple effect. You've touched millions more than you'll ever know. And I know that you're very passionate about speaking to as many young people as possible about tolerance. And you are incredible. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for, if you would have stayed stuck, no one would blame you, but you chose a different path.
I just like to add, it takes one to recognize one.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We are very connected because we are very passionate and purposeful, and we want to make a positive impact in this world and create social change. And I can't thank you enough. And if it wasn't for this pandemic, you would be speaking and traveling, would you not?
Yes.
Yes.
24 bookings were canceled. I never finished in Alberta. I was there for 12 days and came home March the 14th.
Yes.
Because of the virus, yes. And also
Yes.
Ottawa, I was supposed to be in Ottawa, and I was supposed to be in Southern Ontario, all over the place. But
oh, I know. There's no stopping you, Eva. and so that's why I'm thrilled. It's very unfortunate that those all of those events were canceled. I had all kinds of events canceled, and now it's like we can be sad about that, challenged, and now what? So this is one thing that we can do. And so in our two conversations before we dove into your story a little bit, we both shared, and today I thought and we talked about something that would be good to share. And we're going to go back, aren't we? Because when we think of what the world is going through right now, we have this pandemic, global grief, we have the systemic racism and all of the sadness after George Floyd's murder in the United States, but knowing that this was not the first time that a Black man was murdered, and the ripple of all of that. And Martin Luther King Jr. said he dreamed of a world where his children people would be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And I would add, not by their age, their culture, their religion, their sexual orientation, and any other differences, because we always have a choice to choose love. And you faced judgment and discrimination throughout your life. And we're going to talk about a choice you made to marry a man named Rudy, who is not of your religion, despite a letter. And I want to talk about this letter you received from your uncle and your sister, who was the reason you survived the Holocaust was to protect her, and then what discrimination did to your relationship and how that changed everything. So tell us about.
Would you like me to? Okay. We ended up in Sweden after being liberated in Bergen-Belsen. And Sweden took in a lot of refugees, unlike many other countries. Mm-hmm. And in April of 1946, my sister came to see me. Mm-hmm. She went to a camp to learn Hebrew. I and about a dozen other refugees went nearby village to work in a porcelain factory. Okay. And when she came to visit me in April of 1946, a strange thing happened. My father was a teacher and also an author. He wrote 18 books. Mm-hmm. She had one of the books that I have in my possession today, was published in 1936. Wow. Somebody had that book in Copenhagen. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine, from Hungary, Romania? Wow. They traveled and took that book with them. Amazing. I used to go with my father to the printing house because I was about 12 years old. I was fascinated by the typecasting, how they threw the letters. Yes. And she gave me that book, hoping maybe that she will awaken something in me. Right. So that was in 1946. Mm-hmm. In 47, in the summer of 1947, I received a letter from our, excuse me, our uncle.
Mm-hmm.
My mother's youngest brother, after the First War, he went to New York, became a rabbi.
Okay.
And my sister contacted him. And he wrote to me this: you should immediately leave Gustafsburg because your mother's soul cannot rest in peace. I reacted with anger.
Mm-hmm.
I took that letter, ripped it up. That's the only regret I really have, because it would have been printed in my autobiography, in my first book.
Mm-hmm.
Her actions, her behavior made me that choice, the decision. I knew whom I wanted to marry.
So
I didn't need more religion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
go
did
ahead.
they say that your mother's soul couldn't rest? What were they referring to? Was it because you were with Rudy?
Because I wasn't living accordingly our upbringing.
Right. Right.
She knew that I had a Swede as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what her complaint was that I worked on the Sabbath, which is not allowed. So therefore, my mom's, and I felt you have no right to mention my mom's soul.
God.
You weren't there. You weren't there.
Mm-mm.
You didn't see her being sent to the left and never see her again.
Right.
And never be able to say, I love you, or I want to give you a hug.
Mm. Oh, so painful.
That, her actions made me decide, I need compassion, not more religion.
Mm.
I need acceptance. I need love. I found that young Swede that had those attributes.
Mm-hmm.
Love and compassion and unconditional acceptance. I did not have not even a childhood, because I was determined, as I mentioned in my second interview, that I was determined to become the person I was destined to be.
I just can't imagine, after all you went through in the Holocaust,
Yes.
together, that is what separated, that your sister wasn't able to give you love because you were not living in the way that she thought you should live.
That's right. And that's not enough. I had a call from a young man in 1947. Your sister and I are getting married. He was from Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
Parents were not involved in the Holocaust, but she met him at this camp where he was a counselor.
Mm.
I wasn't invited to the wedding. One blood family left, and I'm not invited to the wedding.
Oh, God.
But his reason for calling is this, and many people don't know this. If a younger sibling, in the environment I was raised, if a younger sibling is to be married before the older one, she has to have permission.
Oh, and she was your younger sister.
She was my younger sister, so by him calling me would serve that purpose.
So he wanted your
In
permission.
In 1948, I found out from some of the other refugees when Israel became a state through the United Nations, she left. They left, I should say. I was never said goodbye, nothing. And that's not enough of denial of human existence. They got married in Sweden, but he was Jewish, of course. Mm-hmm. She had 10 children. Wow. Only one of her 10 children knew that she has a sister, an older sister that survived the Holocaust with her. Only one out of 10. And why did this one? Because he was moderate. Mm-hmm. He was the only one that was not Hasidic. Right. So now, to take it further, in 1982, my son was at Queen's University. Some of the students were on a field trip. They went to Boston. Mm. And I gave them the contact. She was visiting their son, Chaim, that was at Harvard University as an exchange. Mm-hmm. And here is what they did. My son calls me and he said, Mom, how could you? I said, could what? How could you marry Rudy? They bribed him. They said, if you come with us, we sponsor your professorship. Oh you, as many millions of others, could not understand what I felt. Hitler took away what we had. And now they are trying to take away the one flesh and blood that I had left. Oh. My gosh. Is that religion?
I don't know what God would teach that to his people. Conditional acceptance, conditional love. I don't believe any God would want that. I'm sorry. I don't believe that anywhere. That is, you and your son are close. You have a good relationship. He's a big part of your life. Thank goodness.
It's yeah. So that's, I don't judge her. She took the legacy with her. Our father passed on. Yes. I live the legacy that my mother gave me. Mm-hmm. Compassion for the human life. Yes. Courage, and never to give up hope. And when one of her grandsons emailed in Hebrew, one of them, my granddaughter, Alexandra Olsson, translated it on Google, and one of them, my son, contacted him and said, my mother doesn't read Hebrew. Mm-hmm. And here is what he said: you must come to Israel and talk about your life, your choices, and your book.
Oh, wow.
Because my nephew in Boston bought 5 books, 7, mm-hmm. 2 for his library and 1 for each of his children. So my sister found out. Mm. And the story broke loose. Baba, she has a sister. Well, I would say that I pray that her soul had found peace. She died 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah, before she turned 90.
Wow. Eva, I love that you share your pain. It's painful. You share your pain, and no one would blame you if in your life you became a bitter, sad person. No one would blame you. But you chose something so much greater. You chose to be a light in this world. You chose, I mean, anytime if you shared this story about your sister, about all you lost, about the Holocaust, about your upbringing, people would say, oh, well, no wonder Eva is so bitter and angry. And of course, and it's like you would not let that win. And you don't ignore the sadness. You don't pretend it didn't happen. But you have created a life of passion and purpose and an important message for the rest of the world. It's extraordinary. It is extraordinary.
And the reason why I'm not bitter or angry, I'm sad.
Yes.
Because the perpetrator wins.
Yes.
They get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I'm asking the schools, how come you don't hate for what they did to you? Because hate is a sickness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be sick.
No.
It's really what I would like to, with your permission, add here something.
Please do.
Yeah. And this is for parents and teachers, because teachers are parents as well.
Mm-hmm.
A project they could, I have already started that last year.
Okay.
Half a dozen students at a table.
Mm-hmm.
Piece of paper and a pencil. You can involve your teacher and write down the color of hate.
Mm-hmm.
What color is hate?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it. What does it feel like to you when somebody is angry and tells you, I hate you?
Mm-hmm.
What does it do? When you discuss this and write things down on paper, you might come to the conclusion that you want to be part of the solution and not the problem.
I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing. And I know you want to eradicate the word hate. And even when you say the word hate, it feels sharp. It feels painful and heavy. And because you said that, we will never use that word in this house. When somebody says it, I say, I'm going to tell Eva on you. Not say it, Eva, because I want, as you are eradicating the word hate and everything that it stands for, because that is where all of this fear, prejudice, all of it stems from. And we have to, let's break it down. Where did it come from? And it's like when we talk about judging people by their sexual orientation, their color, their religion, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to decide.
Absolutely.
To decide that someone is a certain way because of the color of their skin or who they love. And we've talked about this. I say, when I judge people, I don't love that word, but if I'm going to judge people, there are 4 things that I care about, so that if we're going to have a relationship, these are the 4 things I will judge. I want to know how you treat yourself, how you treat others, how you treat animals, and the earth. Anything else is actually none of my business, and it is irrelevant. I don't care. It's irrelevant.
It shouldn't have an effect on you.
You know, I don't have to love if you have whatever. orange hair or how you dress. You don't have to love it.
But you know what? Generally speaking, not just children, people say, oh, I hate this weather.
Yeah.
No, and I tell my audience, I live in a snow belt area. We have lots of snow sometimes. Hating it is not gonna make it go away faster.
It really isn't.
Is it?
Really is not. It really is not. And don't we waste a lot of time? When people say, and people say it all the time, oh, I hate winter. I said, you live in Muskoka. Like, it's winter for almost 6 months of the year. You should move. Or what can you do about that? There, we have choice, right? We always have a choice. We don't always have the choice we wish we had. And that's, when I'm speaking often and I say to people, we always have a choice, and they get very angry or defensive. I didn't choose this. And I just say, now, wait a minute. We don't always have the choice we wish we had. But we have the choice to grieve what has happened, to feel sad, to allow our feelings, allow our humanness. And now what? That's always a choice.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it is. And sometimes we have to respect choices. Excuse me. I want to say something about that.
Yes, absolutely.
When Rudy died, Jan was 10.
Yes, your son, yes.
Yeah, my son. And I had a big garden north of Toronto where I lived in Richmond Hill, and we were out in the garden. He's 11.
Mm-hmm.
And September, he would have been 12. And after Rudy passing, very lonely life, no family. I had Jackie.
Mm-hmm. Your wonderful friend, and you're still friends with Jackie.
64 years this summer.
This is to Jackie.
And I called her mom and dad, mom and dad. They were my pseudo parents.
Beautiful.
So I said to Jan outside, you know what? We should really move to Sweden and live there. Because you have a grandmother,
mm-hmm.
You have 2 aunts, and 4 cousins, first cousins, and then other extended families from Rudy. And my son said this, I am not going anywhere. I'm a Canadian.
Oh, all right.
Now, how many people do you know personally that would have just left it at that? How many? Parents would say, we're packing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I didn't. I respected his wishes. Mm-hmm. Now, would life been better over there? From one perspective, if you look at it, there was family, mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. He didn't want to do that, didn't want to make that choice. He made a choice, but not to move. So here we are.
Here we are. And look at the life you created.
So the choices, we have to respect them. Sometimes if somebody has a different choice, maybe doesn't agree with you, but we also have to agree. It's okay to agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Because we're different. We have different attitudes, we have different perspective on life and different things that's happening.
Absolutely. And I will add, I believe with all my heart and soul, we all have value, we all matter, regardless of age, race, culture, sexual orientation, economic situation, ability, disability. We all have value and we all matter. And I will respect differences and choices as long as with my 4 criteria, you are not hurting yourself, someone else, animals, or the earth, right? as long as
Never.
you. How we live, how we grieve, everything in between. I respect your difference as long as, right? And I think that's fair, as long as you're not hurting yourself, someone else, animals, the earth. And
Well, that's really what I felt about my sister.
yes, yes.
That you have the right to live the way you choose to live. I have no issues with that. But don't deny another human being
Yes.
their choices, that they have the same right to live the way they live.
Yes.
And actually, that nephew that I met in Boston, 24 years after, because we met in 1982, and this is 24 years later, and they called. I said, why are you calling now after 24 years? And the excuse was made, we were tried, also we did the wrong spell.
Yeah.
Anyway, and she, his wife, said, Chaim is a professor now. I said, oh, well, I'm only a published author.
You've only spoken to millions of people.
And he said, oh, you wrote a book? I said, yes. And he said, how can we get it? I said, you wouldn't like to read it. Why is that? Because the truth is in it.
Mm.
And he said, I'm not afraid of the truth.
Mm.
If that's the case, you and I can be friends. So he said he was going to come. He wanted John's phone number. So next door, we lived then, down the river. And he was going to come in January. This was in October. He was going to come in January to visit the family.
Wow.
And he didn't.
Oh.
His nephew, one of my sister's oldest grandsons, was connected on Facebook with my book editor.
Oh.
And he told my book editor the reason why his uncle didn't come to visit us, he didn't want to hurt his mother. This man now is 67 years of age and still controlled by my sister.
Wow. Wow. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
You never
It's
connected again? You never saw him again?
Never, ever. But when he received the books, and after he read it, I still have the email, by the way, that he emailed me, and he said, every word on every page is shining.
That's what he said? Wow. Wow.
Right.
It says it all.
But this nephew, Eli, my great nephew though, is that's connected with, also with Cindy Clemens in Windsor.
Oh, okay.
Because when Eli contacted me, it's Cindy that responded.
Wow.
Now, he left Israel because he couldn't live their way of life. And he lives in Spain. Actually, I have his phone number. I gotta call him to see if he's okay with this virus.
Yes.
Because the work he has been doing on computer work stuff, he can do it anywhere, wherever he lives. But he left because he could not live their way of life.
Right. Wow. Wow. Oh, well, I think that in this time, there have been many times in history that have been challenging. You lived through one of the most horrific times in all of our history, the Holocaust. And when you think of that, and now you think of where we are now and where we are today, and we are living in this pandemic, and we have racism that's continued, which is the same, no different than what you've experienced. I'd love to share some thoughts with everyone, especially after now, you know, this has been months and months and months, right? And people are, I mean, you have felt it, I have felt it, it's exhausting. Now kids are preparing to go back to school. Teachers are preparing. Kids are either going to learn online or they're going to go to school and they're going to wear masks, and it is all going to be very
Yes.
different. What can we share, Eva, to people to help them move through all of this? Because, you know, again, we have choice, right? And we don't have a choice that we're in a pandemic. We don't have a choice, but we have a choice about loving each other, being kind, and all the rest. So what would you ask people to choose? There, that's a good question.
To choose whether send their children to school?
No, to choose their behavior. What to help people move through this, or just in
Stay
general.
Stay connected.
Stay
And show that, stay connected, show that you care.
Show that you
with compassion for others, because there is always someone out there that's worse off than you, that's more difficult to deal with situations.
Absolutely.
We all deal with tragedies and atrocities of any kind very differently.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a survivor from Toronto calling me when she found out at the Holocaust Center in Toronto that I was going to overseas in 2007 with a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Why you want to go there?
Back to Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was born in the same city, lived on the same street I live. I go once a year to the capital of the Rhine, to the capital of Hungary, Budapest, because my grandmother is buried there.
That's
and it's an old,
yes.
It's an old tradition to go to the cemetery. But that's her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, once a year for you to go to Hungary, it's enough. For me, it's not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you
So
went back to where you were born. You went back and did the documentary, right?
Yes, and I went to the camp where my father died.
Yeah.
He only lived 6 months. He died of starvation.
Mm-hmm.
At age 48. And I went back to Bergen-Belsen. And when I spoke at many times in Aurelia, the Historical Society, they celebrate or commemorate, would be a better word,
Mm-hmm.
Johnny McDonald's birthday
Mm-hmm.
in January.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been to it many times, and I talked about going back to Bergen-Belsen. Why would you go back there? Because many soldiers lost their lives to fight their way through to free us from hell.
Mm-hmm.
One of those soldiers' spirit will always be alive as long as I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go there to find anybody alive. And to see those mass graves covered with grass, 6,000, 8,000, 5,000, 10,000. And that's where Anne Frank died.
Mm-hmm.
And I was privileged last November in Edmonton to open the Anne Frank exhibit.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah. So if you survive, if you were given a gift of life, you survived. To ask yourself why I never did. I accepted that I survived for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a reason and must find that calling. Why am I here? What am I contributing? Not what I can take with me. What am I leaving behind?
You have given so much, Eva, and you're showing people what is possible. You survived hell many times. You were silent for 50 years, and then you started to share your message in your 70s. I mean, you are a beautiful example for the rest of the world. And I thank you with all my heart and soul for all that you do, because whenever people, for me, when I am struggling with something in my life, I go to my shelf of heroes. You're on my shelf of heroes. My heroes are people who have been through hell, through trauma, through crisis, and are choosing to create something positive, to have passion and to have purpose, to acknowledge the grief that they've been through, and even when it comes back, and to allow joy in their lives as well. And you have had tremendous grief, and you've had joy, and all of it. And so you show the world what is possible, and through the choices that you make. And if I would encourage people through all of this, number one is that with my whole just showing up movement, just show up for yourself first. You have value and you matter, and the only criteria to matter is that you exist. There's no other criteria. And in this time, it is so important for people to be very intentional with their self-care and checking in. Check in with yourself. How am I doing mentally? How am I doing physically? How am I doing emotionally? Because your own happiness is your responsibility, and you are the only one who knows what is going on internally, right? No one else can know. Don't put on a pretend smile and pretend everything's fine when they're not. You are the only one who knows. Be honest, check in with yourself. How are you doing? And you know what? If you're not doing great, let people know.
Yeah.
Reach out for help.
I want to add to that, when I
Yes.
was silent for 50 years,
yes,
I still have that mirror that I used to stand in front of and many times ask myself, why did this happen? Why?
Mm-hmm.
But I came to the conclusion there is no answer to the letter why. The answer lies within you.
Mm.
That's where the answer is.
Yes.
Okay? I'm a good person. So therefore, I need to love myself. When I love myself, I can become the person I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I say to my young audience.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't start with him or her. It starts with the self.
So important. So it always starts with you. Love yourself. You're great. You're imperfect. Love yourself. Warts, flaws, all of it. We are all perfectly imperfect. I am
That's okay.
I am strange, and I love myself. I have all these silly animals, toys. We need to be the very best version of ourselves. We don't have to be anything but what makes our soul happy, what makes ourselves happy. It doesn't have to be something, you don't have to stand up on a stage.
Like some people feel, if I only live over there, I'll be happier, because they think the grass is greener. The only problem is once you get there, you find that there are weeds called over.
Oh, you're glitching out.
There are weeds, everywhere. You have to cultivate it no matter where you are.
No matter where you are. Yes, when you're
Yeah.
on this side, you look over there and you see the green grass, so you can't see the weeds. They're there.
They're there.
They are there. They're everywhere. And that's okay. Weeds are part of it. It's all part of it. And we need to be so intentional with our self-care and loving ourselves, because we are in charge of our own happiness. And when we can truly say, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
I'm great. Then you can love other people. You can just show up for others and shine your.
You can only love other people if you love yourself. And it's the same with acceptance. You have to accept yourself. You don't want to look like Marilyn Monroe or who knows who else. Can you imagine everybody looking like me? God forbid.
I want everybody to look different. I love going somewhere and everyone looks different. I mean, there's already enough in the world that we cannot control, right? We cannot control this.
Oh, yeah.
We're trying to control this virus. We cannot control always when accidents happen or natural disasters or whatever. We can control ourselves. We can control how we treat ourselves, how we treat each other. We need to just show up for ourselves first and just show up for each other, because we can make the difference with kindness. Kindness.
Just treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
It's called the golden rules.
Oh, well, we haven't had this conversation, Eva, because I challenged the golden rule. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Here's a question I always ask my audience about the golden rule. When I am sad, I want people to hug me. I want to hug you, right? When we're together, I want to hug you. And so I assume that if someone's having a hard time, they want a hug. But have you ever tried to hug somebody who doesn't like to be hugged? Have you ever tried to hug somebody who doesn't like to be hugged?
Yes.
Oh, me too. And she said, don't hug.
No. That person didn't say that, but both arms remained hanging down.
Yeah. So I also say we need to treat people the way they want to be treated. Right?
Well, you stop hugging, because that person might think it's offensive to them.
Well, exactly. So we have to, yes, we need to at least check in and make sure and treat people the way they want to be treated, because we're all different.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And different is okay. Different is to be celebrated. And as we go through these challenging times, there's also gifts in it. This is a gift, getting for you and I to be able to do this and share this message. That is a gift.
It is a gift.
It is a gift.
It is a gift, yeah. And I believe in that, because I believe that even my granddaughter, Alexandra, what she's helping me, it's a gift. I see it as a gift.
Absolutely.
It's part of her legacy, that she's compassionate, caring, and when she has the time, if it doesn't suit one evening to send out 10 messages or whatever, and she would say, I do it tomorrow or whatever, but
yes,
it's a gift.
Thanks, Alexandra. She's very wonderful. And this, for us to be able to connect, one of my dreams was to be on stage with you, and someday we will do that. And until then,
I'm looking forward to it.
Right? We'll have so much fun. It will be wonderful. And until then, we can do this. And we can, again, you say, yes, this is challenging. And now what? What can we do? What can we do? Right?
How can we deal? It's not the challenges. It's the choices to make, how we deal with them.
Yes, it's not the challenges, it's the choices of how we deal with them. And we
all that?
have that choice.
It's not the challenges, it's the choices we make, how we deal with them.
Yes. And we always have a choice to make, to feel the positive, to feel the negative,
Yeah.
to choose to be kind, to choose to
Yes.
be kind. We always have a choice.
Yeah.
Make a good choice.
You always have a choice. Yeah.
Good choices. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. And we need to choose love, choose gratitude, choose excessive kindness, self-care. We will move through this together and reach out.
Yes.
When you need help. And if somebody needs your light and you have it, shine your light. Shine your light. It's the best we can do. You don't have to be perfect. You can be messy. You don't have to be a professional. Just love and be kind. Right?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. You see how quickly this time goes by with us chatting?
That's what happens when you're having fun.
Well, exactly. And Eva, we've had so many wonderful conversations. I love you from the bottom of my heart. And I just thank you so much for everything that you've done for the world. I'm so grateful that I get to have you so much more than so many people, because we live close and we are good, close friends.
And we have a garage.
And you have a garage. Yes. We had a garage visit the other day. I went to Eva's garage. We sat 6 feet apart and we had a lovely visit.
Yeah, we did.
And we will do that again. And we will
Absolutely.
We will keep on Zooming and sharing. And I encourage people to go to your Facebook page, Eva Olsson, go to mine, Yvonne Heath, or Love Your Life to Death. We will continue to do what we can to support people along the way.
And to bring awareness.
Bring awareness. Bring awareness to the power of acceptance.
Yeah.
The power of acceptance and the power of choice.
Yes. Yeah. Very important.
It's everything, isn't it?
I love you. You know, love is not a one-way street.
No.
Love, share, we give, and we receive.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for loving me, my friend.
Well, I couldn't do any better. Thank you for allowing me to love you.
Well, don't make me cry now. We're going to chat again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Take good care.
Keep well.
Thanks, everyone.
Love you.
Bye for now.